Hey folks, welcome to verifiedinvesting.com. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. Now, in today's video, we're looking at Bitcoin. Maybe we'll take a look at Ethereum as well. Bitcoin and ETH are breaking sharply lower. Now, the charts guided us to this outcome, right? We've been talking about this for the last couple weeks, how Bitcoin broke below a key level, never reconfirmed above, which gave it a negative bias. We've talked about the downside target of 93 to 95,000. Today we broke 100,000 briefly. It's back above there for now, but where is it going next? Let's talk about the charts here, folks. So here's your Bitcoin daily chart. This is your daily candle right here. You can see a big drop the last couple days. 2 days ago, we were near 111,000. Today, we got as low as 99,908. All right. So again, a basic $11,000 drop on Bitcoin in 2 days. Now, one of the keys here is that the stock market is falling sharply. And so a lot of people disagree on this. I happen to still think Bitcoin does get influenced by risk on, risk off. So again, when panic hits the stock market, it does also bleed over into Bitcoin and especially altcoins. Altcoins, by the way, are nasty. I'll do another video soon on those. But going to the charts, let's draw our trend lines, folks. Let's get all of them. I'm flipping over to, we can just do the daily chart. So we're on the daily. I'm zooming all the way back to the bull market high in 2017. Let's start our trend line there. This is going to give our upside max upside, right? Resistance. We connected through the high in 2021. We drag it all the way out. And lo and behold, what do we get? We get the recent highs. Again, right to those levels where it got rejected. Isn't that amazing, folks? For those of you that are new, just look at the beauty of this. Basically, you have your cycle high here in 2017, one of your first cycle highs in 2021, and then that literally a trend line connects and gives us perfectly the top here, here, and the latest top a little while ago. Now, one of the things I've talked about, folks, is how Bitcoin, usually 4 to 6 weeks after that tops, the stock market tops, looking very much like that as we've topped on Bitcoin about 4 to 6 weeks now, and now the stock market is starting to correct. Okay, so let's go to the charts. As we break down here, what are the key factors? Well, as we look at downside support, there's one interim trend line that I'm focusing on, basically right in here. This is going to be interim support at around 98,000 and change. I think we likely could tag that as early as today or tomorrow. Now, I expect a small bounce off that, but eventually what I think we're going to do is we're going to come down to this area, take this low, which was basically the beginning of the bull run, right? We were all the way back at 26,000 here. Take that low, connect it through these lows, and drag it all the way up here. And this gives us our major technical support on Bitcoin. I'm going to put it in a different color so it really pops out. But do you guys see that? So again, your beginning of your bull market move, right? So if you look at this, I mean, you had a lot of chop here, but really this is where the vertical nature started to come in, right? Where we started to get these bigger moves, more excitement around Bitcoin, right? Once we started to take off from about 26,000 there. So notice again, here's the starting point, connect it through this low, this low, this low, and this low. And what does it do? It gives us a trend line that's right around 93,000, maybe just above, maybe around 94,000. Now, the reason why this trend line is a bigger deal for Bitcoin is because it goes back further. So this is important because you have this point right here and then this point, but those are only 2 points, right? The more hits of a trend line, the more significant the trend line is as a major factor for any asset class. So here you have a high and you have a low, but that's really all you have. I mean, you could argue you could stretch it out to here maybe, but for the most part, to me, this will be support, but it won't be as major as this area right here. This will be the big test. If Bitcoin can bounce off of this, maybe it fights higher and hits new all-time highs, let's say early in 2026, maybe mid to late 2026. We don't know yet. But ultimately, if this were to break right here, watch out below. We literally could go down as low as 75,000 on Bitcoin. All right. Now, listen, we don't know if we will. I'm just telling you that if this level were to break, it makes Bitcoin vulnerable for a move down to that level. We see it's obviously a major pivot low right there. And by the way, that stretches out. Look at this. So it's not just a 1 point, right? It literally brings you out to this area right through here, right? So you have this high, this high, kissed it here. Then you hit it again here. We broke above. Then we used it as support there. And so, again, in fact, I want to put this in a different color because it's even more significant. All right. So, again, major resistance up here. If we were to rally up, that would be resistance. We're coming into mid-level support and then major support. If major support does not hold, then you're going to 75,000 on Bitcoin. Where will let's talk about me, right? I mean, I think, listen, I can only speak for myself, guys. I can only tell you what I think is the most probable outcome using my technical analysis, 20 plus years of experience of reading charts. Where will I potentially buy Bitcoin for a swing trade or a longer term hold or start accumulating it? And the answer is really on the charts, I'll nibble here as a swing trade. Now, as a long-term hold, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to watch how that behaves, but I'll start nibbling right around this 94, 93,000 level. If we break down here, I continue to accumulate at this next major pivot, probably a little bit more aggressively as it falls. All right. So again, folks, I am a huge long-term bull on Bitcoin. I do think there's a future for Bitcoin. I don't think there's obviously some people that disagree, but less and less as it's become more accepted as a digital store of value, right? A digital gold, if you will. But the key is, I don't know how low it can go. I have to read the charts, and where we break, that tells me it could go to the next level. I will accumulate on the way down. Again, nibbling for a swing at 93 to 94,000. And then really the longer term, where I start to load for long term, probably 75. And you might say, wow, so he must think it's going to 75. Let's just say this. If the stock market is going to correct, let's say 20%, let's just say we get a 20% pullback. Now, remember, the NASDAQ's up 60% from April. The S&P's up 45% from April. So if the NASDAQ, let's say, corrects 20%, I think we're at 75,000 on Bitcoin. Yeah, I do. But at that point, you start really, at least for me, I start loading the boat significantly. Couple other charts here. Let's go into the ETH chart. ETH is not looking good, but there is a major buyable level. It looks like it's going to confirm below this major trend line here. All right. Where am I starting to buy aggressively on the chart of ETH? The answer is right in here, folks. Take a look right here. So basically you have these levels right in here in this high pivot, this zone, essentially 2730 to 2860. This area here should be major technical support, but on an uptrend, the uptrend is breaking on ETH. This trend line begins. I mean, think about this. April lows, this trend line started when ETH was under $1,400. And now it's breaking. So that's a big breakdown. So I'm a buyer here, probably not before, but a buyer there. That would be a level to go long, in my opinion. All right. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how it goes. One other thing that I'm just kind of noticing here in the charts, if we do a bigger parallel here, let's just see what we have here. Look at this. All right, let's zoom it out here. We bring this down and look, so you have high pivot to high pivot, low pivot, and look, it all coordinates right there. So you're in a parallel. This would add credence to a buyable level on ETH. I will be looking to buy pretty aggressively ETH for a swing trade, basically once we hit 2,800 or get below 2,800. All right. So again, that's two factors for me now. The other thing we could do too is we could always just see, is there a Fibonacci level in this range? And lo and behold, yep, there is. Look at that. That would be a 6. Oh my goodness, this is a good level. 618 Fibonacci retrace in that same zone right there. That's incredible, folks. That's 3 factors. That would be a huge buying opportunity. Again, even huge buying opportunities, I want to be clear, I don't go all in. I never go all in on my first buy, because the times I think it's a no-brainer, usually the times that it's not, right? It fools me. It kind of does. It says, oh, well, he thinks it's easy. It's so easy. Well, let's make it hard on him, right? We've all probably experienced that in our investing, where we thought it was a no-brainer and it ultimately crushed us. So I've learned my lesson. I don't go all in. I nibble. That's my term. My technical term is nibbling at levels. It leaves me the ability to dollar cost average. So if it goes below my level, I can just continue to dollar cost average until I get that bounce. Then boom, profit, profit, profit. All right, guys, I got to get going. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.